Now, joining me is Rebecca Butler and Stephen Barrett. I've always subscribed to the idea that two heads are better than one, and so I thought I'd introduce two barristers to the fray here. So thank you very, very much. It is always a ladies first, so Rebecca, I will go with you on this first and foremost. Do you think that our immigration legal profession needs a good investigation?
Well, if a solicitor has lied on behalf of any client, then that is a matter for their regulatory body. It is hard baked into all of us, both at the bar and as solicitors, that we don't produce evidence on behalf of our clients. It is the client's case that we present. Now, you can advise your client on what the law is, and you can advise your client on what aspects of the law they need to establish in order to win their case. But I think to suggest that all immigration lawyers are lying on behalf of their clients is a little bit of a stretch, and I don't think that's a very safe route to go down here. You have to remember that it is Parliament that drafts the laws, it is judges that apply the law, and it is the advocates, people like me and people like Stephen, who present the client's case. Okay. We cannot be the people to write the evidence, we merely present the evidence. If you are writing evidence, you are committing malpractice, and you will be censured by your body for doing so.
I mean, it was incredibly easy for the Daily Mail to unearth a handful of law firms, of course, that were doing just that. And I do think that if you went and knocked on a lot of solicitors' firms in quite suspicious kind of areas, you might well unearth that there is something widespread going on. But Stephen, at the very least, I wonder whether or not we've allowed a situation to occur in this country where certain charitable organisations can very easily make a case and provide evidence on behalf of illegal migrants, and that can be presented to law firms, and then that finds its way in terms of stifling due process, etc., and us controlling our borders. Where are you on this?
Well, the one thing I pick you up on is you said in this country, because I would say that at the moment there is a global immigration problem. Yeah. And I would say that international law on immigration has got itself into a bit of a muddle, and it's causing problems everywhere. I mean, I've written, one of the only journalists in the UK to have highlighted the fact that the EU stands accused of being responsible for the deaths of over 100,000 migrants, and that it uses a detention centre in Libya, which the UN has condemned, and that some very well-thinking human rights lawyers on the continent are outraged at what the EU is doing. I mean, there is a border on the eastern side of the EU, which is effectively a wall. And so we shouldn't, for a start, we shouldn't assume this is just a UK problem or a UK solution. But on the broader point, I mean, I'm never going to do anything other than echo Rebecca, that we want and the country needs and the system requires lawyers who are above reproach. One of my concerns is that certain over-dramatization of criticism of lawyers has led to people being unwilling or disinterested in criticizing them. I frowned, a big frown appeared on my forehead very strongly when the Daily Mail reported that there were enemies of the people, and then everybody seemed to get very hysterical about that. It's perfectly valid for the Daily Mail to criticize judges. Whether people like it or not, or agree with the Daily Mail or not, it's their personal political opinion. People say rude things about lawyers. People say, it may shock you to hear this, Patrick, but they say or they tweet rude things about me. I mean, it does happen. And we all have to just get over it. If we're going to have a proper, good system, we need to criticize because we need to investigate. If you don't investigate, it's likely that, the bad apples will corrupt the whole barrel.
OK. Rebecca, where are you on this idea, this threat?
Can I just make a point, Patrick?
Well, you take it away. Yes, go on.
I've done briefs for the Home Office, and given the long arm of the state, and given the state has all of the resources available to it to prepare cases and present them adequately, I have to say, as a barrister, going in for the Home Office, their cases are so appallingly badly put together and hugely shambolic infrastructure within the Home Office itself, because of the sheer volume of cases that they're having to deal with, that, judges have really very little opportunity to assess the credibility of the claimant, in that case, the asylum seeker or the refugee, very little opportunity to consider the credibility of their stories. So how you're going to arrive at a mechanism whereby somebody is reporting a solicitor to the SRA for making up evidence is totally beyond me.
That is absolutely fascinating, because that's kind of a situation where if a lawyer wasn't scrupulous, they know that the Home Office is being hammered at the moment, simply cannot cope, is not really going to be able to look at the veracity of these claims, and those lawyers would know, based off what you said and I think the evidence that we can see before us, that there's a very good chance that that lie will work. And that, Stephen, I wonder if that is not part of the problem, really, that if you did want to at the moment in this country, you really could put forward a load of tosh and probably get it through.
Lawyers stand at the heart of the system. Because of that, that's why it's really important that we're whiter than white. If you get, if we fall to corruption, then you have got a massive problem. And simply proving it, as you've said, is quite clearly tricky. That's why things like the Daily Mail play a vital role. Journalists play a vital role in our society. I think you play a constitutional role in our society in keeping everybody on the straight and narrow. And it is perfectly right that lawyers must be investigated, even if there's mere suspicion. I mean, that is right. What has been going wrong is the mildly hysterical reaction to any criticism of lawyers, which has clearly disincentivized any further investigation. And that's not on. And people, I will not stand here and swear blind that 100% of all of the functioning lawyers today are wholly on it. That to do so would be to mislead the public. I won't accuse them of anything either. I'll simply stay neutral and say that if you want a system that works, you must investigate and prosecute.
Yeah, and I suppose when you mentioned the word hysterical, there
has all of the power. Suella Braverman has all of the power to deal with this, and it is not satisfactory that she blames the failings in the immigration system on, admittedly, one or two dodgy lawyers, which, like Stephen, I agree, they could well exist. And, that's fine. There are mechanisms to deal with it. But it's not right for the government to lay the blame at the door of the lawyers. The problem is the law, not the lawyers.
This is it. I mean, I think both of you, it's been really great, this, actually. And I think that the truth is somewhere throughout this conversation, which is there's hysteria over the criticism of lawyers. There is also a threat of, certainly there's a prison for life, which is in itself hysterical, if you look at it. There will be some rogue ones out there, but you cannot blame the fact that we are where we are singularly on a few rogue lawyers. Great chat, really enjoyed that. Thank you very much, both of you. Hope to chat to you again soon. Rebecca Butler there and Stephen Barrett, who are both barristers.